me tonight. They got to see me.
I think if you got a guy like that, you build like that, 6'4", guy, you got to trust.
Everybody watching tonight. So I tell you what, if you get fired into the next, you're in the wrong business. We control this. We run this. And anybody coming out of the house,
they got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something on this offensive line to combat that. What is going on? Welcome back, everybody. The Dallas Cowboys get another home victory, 41-35 over Seattle. Failed to cover the 9.5. However, that's 14 straight at home. It was a little back and forth game. DK was all over the place, got the turkey. Talk to me a bit about how you're feeling after that tight game.
Man, it showed one or two things, man. I think the main thing is like we finally got that win coming from behind.
Yeah.
As far as like a battle, being in a battle, like one thing I can say is our defense has shown up game in and game out. It hasn't really been too many games. Like I think we can have some outliers in, let's say, San Fran, and then I think the Arizona Cardinals game was a little bit weird, but to see like the way that Dak was able to respond every time they put points up on the board, it just looked like he would not allow the Cowboys to lose that game. And Dak, you got to kind of like let's put MVP Dak in that conversation. It got a little ring to it now, right? And he got a little feistiness to it. Like, I was stressed out. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like the back and forth, the defense. I'm just like, what is going on, man? And he just kept coming back and putting points on the board and responding. And every time Seattle came and they did anything, to our defense, Dak just responded to it, man. And man, I think that's important in itself that to put that on paper, right? Because we want to know, like, when we go to the playoffs and the defense doesn't show up, like, what would Dak respond? Like, what type of ball will he play? And he's just at a different level right now. Even when he trucked the guy out of bounds, the guy was trying to tackle him, he stood up, he flexed on him a little bit, man. I was like, it gets me juiced up. And I just like this dark side of Dak. And I think as far as all the hate, I feel like he's embraced it. So I want to start that off by saying this game alone, we could talk all these different pieces, right? We could say this guy. I think it starts with Dak Prescott. Get a man his praise. Hell of a one.
I think, too, you mentioned the adversity, man. The only real adversity that I think we could have overcame this year was that Arizona loss, which looking back now, that's a terrible loss. But we're on to Seattle, right? So this is a game where, you mentioned the adversity, but I think it's crazy because everybody on our sideline, everybody on the field at all times still look composed, still look dialed in. Nobody seemed defeated at any point in time when they could have buckled at any point,
Yeah.
DK was doing his thing, running around fast as hell all night long, looking like Daron Bland's daddy out there, which we'll get to later. But no, I think this was an important win, a tough win in a primetime spot, man. And at home, we got to extend that winning streak. But I think we needed this type of a win and this type of adversity, because if you just continue to blow these teams out, man, you're really not learning nothing. It's just backyard football at that point.
Yeah. And it's a lot of like it poses a lot of questions before we got some big games. Like if we just came out here and blown them out, right? And we blown out, let's say, the Giants and the Panthers and the Commanders, and then we come out here and we blow the Seattle out, and then these challenges kind of pose themselves against some of these better teams. I think that's something at least they can come into this week. We got a nice little mini bye. They could focus on Philly, and I think they got a lot to kind of just digest with that film and kind of see what happened. And let's say this. Like, I know a lot of people will say, yeah, but Seattle, they was reeling and they lost this many games, and Gino, he wasn't playing well. Listen, man, it's the NFL. Like, teams are desperate, right? You know what I mean? And it's no different than Philly when they trying to like pull out wins against the Jets and the Commanders and all these teams like that. Like, if a team show up and they give you your best fight, and we know with Dallas, like a team gonna show up and they're gonna give them their best fight every game. It's a lot of teams Super Bowl. And and you could kind of get that feel that Seattle really wanted this one. They're like they came in and they really believed they was gonna get it. And what nobody said, like people can do this every week where they can say, oh, the Chiefs, they showing up against the Raiders and they gonna blow them out, or the Dolphins and they showing up and they gonna do it. But listen, it's the NFL, man. Teams show up for a reason, and some games it's blowouts, like we we've came to expect. But I think we've got normal to that. We kind of normalized the thing where it's like we've blown our team so much that now it's like when it's finally a close game, they're like, oh, is y'all really good? Nah, man, it happens, man. We're not saying it. Like I said, we're not saying anything when Philly do it. When other teams do it. When Detroit pull out a win against the two win Chicago Bears, it's a resilient team, right? So let's kind of keep that same thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, it was a tough win. I didn't expect our defense to look how it looked, but let's say this: it was 3 games in what 13 days.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I it was no defense being played on both sides. I think like we said, it wasn't no punts at all, which is crazy. The
Yeah.
referees, it was an ugly game, but it was a great game at the same time. And then another thing you got to pose the question is like after like before this game, like was we kind of looking ahead to Philly and looking down the road of that stretch? Did we overlook Seattle? And I think, you know what I mean, like a lot of it goes to Dak, but what I can say about the defense, it was just uncharacteristic, which makes me think, you know what I mean, it's one of those things where it happens. You know what I mean? They came out, they played their best ball, and we came out to win.
I don't think we overlooked Seattle by any means. I mean, I think Pete Carroll probably has an idea of what DQ's up to, and that's something that you know we probably failed to mention during the preview. But DQ used to work under Pete Carroll, man, and Pete Carroll, being a defensive guy himself, man, kind of probably has a nice grasp on the mentorship of Dan Quinn, right? So he probably had an idea headed into it, talking to his staff, like, "Hey, I know Dan Quinn likes this, that. This is how we can combat that." For example, there was a third and short or a fourth and short play early on when DQ sent the pressure up the middle, and it was a quick pass to the left side, real
Yeah.
quick. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like everybody's moving this way, move the ball that way, and I just feel like that was a little bit of insight on Pete Carroll's part. Also, don't forget Pete Carroll is a Super Bowl coach. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And he I don't think we got out schemed at any point during this game. I think Seattle has elite playmakers like DK Metcalf who showcased his talent last night.
He did, but I would say this, like DK Metcalf, right? He came out there and he's just a different type of specimen, man. You don't find guys that's that big and that can run that fast. And one thing with Dad Quinn, like, listen, we play man, I think more than any team in the NFL. And they went out there and they said, look, we just gonna strap up and let's see what happens. What would happen was, Metcalf, like that 73-yard touchdown. I'm like, okay, that's a little slip. But then in and out, like they was just going at Bland, attacking Bland. As a cornerback, it's all about confidence, right? And I mean, I was wondering, I kind of talked to you right before the half. I was like, I think I'm seeing that Stephon Gilmore switch. I don't know why it took us that long, but
Mhm.
then they still was going at Bland. Luckily, he was able to respond with an interception. But I think overall, like he had a bad game, right? But I think we got to look at the full stretch of things. Like teams haven't been picking on Daron Bland. That's what makes me think like was we just gas? Was we out here because the pass rush wasn't really getting home? The
Mhm.
DBs really wasn't getting home. It was a handful full of guys that I can really say showed up. Like Osa did business. Osa showed up. Hankins showed up. I thought DeMar Clark played well. I thought Jordan Lewis. We talked about Jordan Lewis before the game.
Yeah.
He did what he had to do, and he stepped up in the most crucial moments. I'm talking about crucial stops, and was a key component of the defense finally getting off the field on those key third downs at the end to kind of get the offense the ball back so we could pull this win out. So shout out to Jay Lou. But outside of that, I don't really have a lot of good things to say. You know what I mean, as far as the defense go, man. D Law, shout out him. Micah, you know what I mean? But the pass rush in general, he wasn't getting home. But in general, man, I don't think it's a lot to write home about when a team doesn't punt, when Geno Smith comes out there and he puts up the stats he puts up, and Jackson Smith and the Jigma got involved, and Lockett got involved, and Metcalf did his thing, and Noah Fant, he even got some catches here and there. And you know what I mean? It was just crazy, like the back and forth game, but it was a hell of a game. But it's just stressful for me. Like I was just ready to kind of just put my feet up at any point, but I kind of knew it was a weird game when I looked at the total and what was going on in the first half. We dominated that first half, and then you look at it and we down by 1 point. I'm like, all right, it's one of those type of games. Yeah.
Mhm. And it's crazy too because I don't think advantage went to the Seattle offense. I think they schemed appropriately for Dan Quinn's defense. So shout out to them for incorporating their game plan. You mentioned this is one of their Super Bowl games. Like you play Dallas in prime time, like this is the time to put your nuts on the table and try to showcase what you got going
Yeah.
on. And they did that, but it didn't work out in the end. But Geno, outside of that 73-yard play, so Geno finished the night with 334 passing. You remove those 73 yards, you're sitting at 261, right? So it's really not as flashy as that. There was a lot of yak happening. And I attribute that to the playmakers over Geno Smith, but that I believe it was the third tub that Metcalf had the rub route across the middle of the field in the end zone, or across the end zone when he was wide ass open.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I feel like they stole that from us 2 weeks ago because we ran up basically that exact same play.
It's a
So,
copycat league for sure.
um, but no, I think we needed a game like this. We needed that adversity, and I would have much rather had that adversity now against a playoff contending team than in the playoffs against a playoff team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was important.
Um,
It was important for Dak, man. Like
I think
major takeaway is Dak.
I think it was a good opportunity too for them to kind of poke some holes in our defense to give us stuff to work on. Because I mean, if you just continue to drop 30 and win by 30, like what are you really waking up for in the morning? Like life
Yeah,
seems easy.
yeah. No, for sure. And like I said, it's uncharacteristic. Like, do I sit here and am I worried and I'm thinking like, hey, next game is gonna be the same? And I don't really think that. I think we'll respond. You know what I mean? Like I said, we finally getting that break. You gotta understand, like both teams were gassed. Like, and I think that's a key component to why it was no defense. Like, and Dak, you know what I mean? Dak balled out. I do want to talk about some key guys on the offensive side because, like I said, I don't have a lot to say about the defense. We named a few guys, but Dak showing the grit, right? We talked about Dak. CD, right? CD balled out, but he had some key drops and some crucial moments that, you know what I mean? I'm like, look, I felt at any point we could have pulled away, but it's just like we could not just capture those moments, like the catching it. I mean, the throw in the end zone with Dak hit him right in the face mask. It was like that's the first bad throw I've seen from Dak today, and they showed a replay, and Dak really put a dot on him.
Oh, the best throw of the night.
One of the best throws of the season. And I'm like,
Yeah.
was that really a bad throw? And I think, if Patrick Mahomes had made that throw, or what I mean, if Josh Allen had made that throw, it wouldn't be the same conversation. But it goes to show you if that's the only bad throw you could talk about, you know what I mean? Like Dak is really dicing up. But CD, you gotta make those plays. That I think it was the 4th and 2. You know what I mean? Like we didn't kick the field goal, and I understood why they didn't. I know there was a lot of talk about that. I understood your defense wasn't stopping anybody. We need points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? CD, you got to make those catches. I think it was like 3 crucial drops in a row. But overall, CD, he doing CD things, man. And continue to force feed CD. Brandon Cooks, hell of a game from Brandon Cooks. I love that. Bow and arrow thing he doing. That's beast. But let's talk about Jake Ferguson, right?
That's my
Man,
guy, bro. That's my guy.
man. Jake is slowly he's becoming one of those guys. Like, Kelsey said it, and all the like the tight ends and the people that really know. All I would say is this: like, I really appreciate Dalton Schultz for his time here. Dalton Schultz was a reliable guy. No, not even no joking, no joking stuff, right? He was a reliable tight end, but the stuff that you see Jake Ferguson do, you would never see that from Dalton Schultz. I'm talking about smashing guys, catching the ball, going 15 yards for yak, and then being able to catch the ball, hurdle guys, and then to see him like truck guys, getting Jamal Adams' face, and the grit that he showed, and all. I'm like, that's a dog right there. Like that's a dog. That's what you need out of your tight end, man. And man, the stock is the sky's the limit, man. Like with Shoemaker, like, hey, get in where you fit in, but this dude ain't going nowhere no time soon.
To be honest, and I was big on Fergie headed into the season, which is why I didn't understand the Schoonmaker move in the second round. Like I didn't really think that was necessary right there. But Jake Ferguson has no business hurdling people out there, right? His big body out there hurdling dudes in the open field too. You know what I mean? Like that is insanity.
The athleticism. Like you can't really teach that from a tight end. And he had a good blocking night.
Mm-hmm.
He showed the grit. You know what I mean? He got in Jamal Adams' face. Like Jamal Adams thought he was gonna bite down. I think he was about to actually try to bite his finger a little bit.
He hurdled Jamal or no?
Nah, he hurdled it was one of the cornerbacks, but then somebody laid a crack on him. But him and Jamal had an interaction when
he had the tub on Jamal.
I mean, listen, the tub, yeah, but before that, remember they kind of hit him hard. They caught the ball, they came in. It looked like a kind of a target hit. But the guy was sitting over top of him. He got up and he put the first down signal right in his face. You know what I mean? And Jamal was like, okay, that's my guy. He got back in his face. But then, like, they have a little mouth to mouth. He catches that touchdown on him and stares Jamal Adams down. Jamal Adams looked the other way. I said, that's a dog right there.
Mm-hmm.
He letting you know I'm here, man. And that, man, I can't say enough about him. So, like all the weapons we had, everybody showed up except for Michael Gallup. Sorry. But, you know what I mean? Everybody showed up. But I mean, that's cool. Like, Dak spread the ball around perfectly. But I will say the offensive line didn't have the greatest game. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's one of those things.
It's crazy too because I think the zebras were way too involved, and
Too.
on both sides. I actually want to pull that up right quick. I want to know what that penalty line was.
Man, I think it was like 250
Uh,
yards total, which is crazy.
Penalties 10 for 130 on Seattle, 9 for 127 on us. So yeah, 257 matter of fact on 19
So
penalties. But damn, time of possession, bro. And we talked about this in the preview how Seattle was I got almost dead last in the league in time of possession and we were near the front, bro. We had the ball for 36 and a half minutes last night.
it was easy. It's like it's like this. I think that if any moment the defense could have got off the field, like that game could have spread out. But the
Mhm.
thing is, it seemed like okay, Cowboys can finally get a stop here, penalty. Cowboys can finally get a stop here, and shout out to Seattle. They was just converting third down after third down after third down, and they was able to stay on the field, and the defense just couldn't get off the field, man. And you know, what I mean, it's one of those things. But like I said, salute to Dak, salute to Mike McCarthy as well, man. And just you know, what I mean, the fact that he's kind of just taking control of this whole thing. Dak, one of the things he's referenced and he's talked about was these meetings he's having with Mike McCarthy during the you know, obviously the week, and he's pretty much saying, like, you know, why it's so easy is because everybody's on the same page. I already know the play that Mike is calling because we didn't went over these plays all throughout the week. And I know exactly in the situation that he's going to call him. So once he calls that play, I already know why we calling it, what we about to do, and everybody on the field understands where they got to go and why we doing this play. And I thought that was cool to hear. So everybody is kind of cooking on offense, and everybody is like on the same page.
I do want to kind of keep on that McCarthy train real quick. So I'm looking at these numbers in the game stats. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, the team stats, right? So total drives 10 for Seattle, 11 for us. Yards per play, Seattle had 6.3, us sitting at 5.2, right? That time of possession. So what this tells me is excuse me. The explosive plays is kind of what kept Seattle in this game, man. So
Yeah,
what that means is busted coverage plays where we beat ourselves, right? Not them outworking us. Like as a team, it's actually like players outworking us, right? So McCarthy in return, so we ran 79 plays to their 64. Um, McCarthy's controlling the clock, man. Even when we're down, McCarthy's controlling the clock. And
yeah,
it's crazy. You mentioned the drop by CD, and I just don't think CD thought that ball was going to make it in that window, right? That was a tight throw, beautiful throw, but I think CD was
yeah,
like it probably ain't going to happen. But the craziest thing about it, right, is every time CD made a mistake, he was just kind of like, "That's me."
yeah.
Extreme ownership, right? So
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
was like, "That's me." But nobody ever seems in a panic. We don't see them on the sideline arguing. We don't got none of that right now. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But like, there's really no bad news really coming out as far as chemistry goes in this locker room. So it's
Yeah.
like CD comes out, he's like, "That's me right there," you know. And then everybody's kind of like, "You're right, that's you. Appreciate it, bro." And then he makes up for it a couple plays later or on the
Hmm.
next drive, right?
And he
But
was
even
cooking.
then, what did he finish the night with 12,
I think it was 12 for 116, if I'm mistaken,
which is stupid. Yeah,
which is
12 for
stupid,
116.
but it really could have been 15 for 140 or 150. You know what I'm saying? Like CD, it just seems like as much as you throw to him, like 17 targets, 12 receptions, as many targets as that is, that's still a high clip, man. And he just produces over and over and over again, man. You just continue to do what he does, man. And like you say, it was some tough catches, but it's the catches we expect him to make, but he makes up for it. So it's like what we talking about.
Right, right.
He made the plays when it mattered most.
And how about this fourth down efficiency right here? Excuse me, you mentioned the third down efficiency, right? Seattle
Mhm.
was 9 of 14. We sat at 8 of 14. Fourth down efficiency, man. Seattle went for it on fourth down 3 times, got it 0. To me, the play of the game last night was DeMarcus Lawrence's stop on that 4th and 2 towards
Oh
the end of
yeah,
the game right there.
the biggest.
When he lined up outside and booked it inside and got that stop, bro. Like right there when he made that play, I was like, that's the play of the game right there. You know?
Yeah,
At first I thought it was gonna be the Bland pick, but then we didn't do anything with that drive. I think it was a 3 and out right there.
yeah.
They turn around, they get the ball back, go for it, and then D Law gets that stop. To me, the play of the game was D Law on that 4th and 2 play.
But it was so many of those, right?
Right, right.
So like D Law, like is so crucial. Like even that play where at the end of the game, people think like Mike had just ran off the edge and he just hit Gino when the game was over. No, Demarcus Lawrence on the other side of that, seeing what was going on with the back, he pressed the issue. The back had to get, you know what I'm saying? Like he's able to create havoc, and he's the one like causing the plays on the other side, crucial, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then like I said with J. Lou, like I gotta like it was the clutch plays. Like when we could not find the plays, like they made the plays when it mattered most. And they was able to get off the field when they couldn't get off the field all game. So yeah, shout out to D Law, man. He showed why he's one of those premier defenders, and you know what I mean, as far as setting the edge and making plays when it mattered most. Like we so used to doing that. Like you think about the Detroit goal line stand last year, and so many games where it's like the game on the line, he just finds a way. You know what I mean? So shout out to him. But we do got to talk Daron Bland, man. Unfortunately, man, like he's on a hell of a streak still. I don't know how much this hinders his all, you know what I mean, his all pro, his defensive player of the year campaign. I think he's still an all pro, obviously. Defensive player of the year campaign, obviously, you know, it's gonna be a tough battle. Nobody's doing what he's doing as far as the numbers go. He's going against the pass rushers, right? It's gonna be him, and he's dealing with I guess you could say TJ Watt is going to be up there. Miles Garrett going to be up there. He got to deal with Micah himself being in that conversation and trying to get there. But will teams look back at a game like this? You know what I mean? And it was a terrible game for him. I'm glad he responded when it was time. He could have had two. I'm kind of glad he didn't get that two because we was able to get the ball at midfield, obviously. But um, you know what I mean? I think he'll respond though. I do.
I don't think. I mean, nobody likes to go to work every day, right? Like you don't perform best every day at work. We just
Yeah.
assume because they play on TV, like no matter what, it's going to be your best effort. And that could have been his best effort, but 180 minutes of football, man, in 13 days, that's a lot of work on the
Yeah.
body. That's a lot of studying, a lot of film to watch. And you got to think too, it's during the holiday season, right? So, I mean, maybe he just had an off night, but he
Yeah.
made up for it when it mattered.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a big knock on Daron, and I get it, but I think also it's hard to blame him completely. Like Dono should have been there for support on that 73-yard touchdown.
Who's played terrible this year?
Yes.
Like I've been just waiting and waiting and waiting, and we didn't gave him that contract. And you said a key thing, like how much of that 73-yard touchdown was on, you know what I mean? Dono was it on Bland? Yes, Bland gave up the inside leverage, right? Gino, he did a hell of a job looking off, you know what I mean, Donovan Wilson, but you still got that's what we pay you the big bucks for. You got to make that
Mhm.
play. And unfortunately, this year, like we talk about him being our forcer, have you been setting the tone? Have you been
0.
you haven't been doing so, man. And that's unfortunate. And I don't know what to say about that, but um we need something back here. I'm not panicking after this game, but I am looking at it from a standpoint like there's nothing like, hey, we might need you a little bit. Like,
Hey, he can come on.
yeah, can you come in here and fill in? I know he's waiting for it. I think he's leaning all the way a little bit. Is he waiting to see what Philly does? When is that? I don't know when that visit scheduled for Philly. I don't know if it's before the San
Uh,
Fran game,
he
after
already went there.
he did.
Yes, sir.
So maybe he's waiting for the game to be over. I don't know.
I think there's either a bidding war or I don't know. It's weird. I just wish I could be a fly on the wall in those conversations because I don't understand how you would allow him to leave if it went well, unless you're just trying to see if Philly's willing to spend more money than you are. But
I
on the
wouldn't even
other
risk it.
side, I kind of want to talk about the Rashawn Evans. What was he doing that far downfield on a wide receiver, right?
On Lockett at that.
On Lockett.
Now,
So
he was running though. I'll give him that. He showed some good speed. He just got caught looking in the backfield. But
that,
yeah, schematically, why?
well, and then the PI on that, like, duh, make that happen because he
Yeah,
was torched, right?
yeah,
So how did DQ allow a situation or whoever, you know what I mean? I just don't get how you end up downfield with Tyler Lockett and you're playing
yeah.
linebacker, right? So that needs to be addressed. But I think with the Daron Bland thing, man, I think I've kind of talked about it a couple times. You as well about that center field help, man. I still think there's room to improve at the safety position. Obviously, it's a little late in the year for that, and the next best thing we can do is improve at the linebacker position. So just stick to Daron Bland real quick. This is a man still playing out of position, but at an All-Pro level, trying to be aggressive, trying to do his thing. Because if you're playing in the nickel that aggressive, you got linebacker help around you, you got safety help for sure in the center field. But when you're on the outside, man, and you want to try to play aggressive, it's very hard to play aggressive and not get bit a couple times. You know what I mean?
I mean, and it happens. Like as a cornerback, you gotta think about it. We seen Jalen Ramsey had those type of games last
Ramsey
year.
gets toasted, bro.
Ramsey was getting cooked. You know what I mean? And like Slay, we done seen Slay get cooked. We done seen all the it's part of
And
playing the
Bradbury
oh,
trash.
Bradbury get cooked. I don't even put him up there amongst those guys. But what I will say is, like as a top 5 corner, like you out there, but nobody just has a perfect year where you just don't get burned or no cornerback never had bad games. It's all about how you respond. And when you're going against premier talent like this, like if he just started the game and Stephon Gilmore was just shadowing Metcalf from the beginning, would he have had a better game? I think confidence matters. And I don't think he responded to it right away. But the beautiful thing is about it, like you get to go inside that coaching room. You dealing with a guy like Al Harris, whose stock is up, man. Al Harris got his boys playing good ball. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on him, man. And I think he'll respond. And if you think about what type of guy he is, he's shown that in his early on in his career that he's the guy that responds well. And I expect him to come out against Philly. Do I think AJ Brown and them are just going to be picking on Daron Bland 2 weeks in a row? I don't think so. But maybe this was good for him if that fight was maybe getting to his head a little bit. Maybe he was going for the picks a little bit more than he should have instead of trusting his technique. These things are a conversation to be had, but it's also important along this journey that we're trying to get to because just when you start smelling the Lord too much, you kind of start believing the Lord too much, and we don't want to get into that. One thing I love about where we are as the Cowboys, and the beautiful thing about it, like you think about Dak and where he's going and his MVP and his numbers, and you still try to find people to move the goalposts. And you still say, well, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done good teams. And what about this guy? And the Cowboys, you win nine games, but it's like whoever you beat, let's keep us there. Like
Mhm.
I kind of like it when we at this point right now, but we still fighting for everything, man. And I think that's beautiful. Like Daron Bland, yeah, you having an all-pro season, but you got cooked last week. That's how you respond. I like it.
Mhm. Well, and not to get too off topic, I think losing Jordan Brooks really had a big impact on the Seahawks early on. Not to provide excuses for the victory, but you mentioned Dak playing at an MVP level, right? So we know the talk all off season was Dak and his interceptions, Dak and his interceptions. I'm gonna read you off a couple things real quick, because now all of a sudden interceptions don't matter, right?
It doesn't.
Josh
Yeah.
Allen tied with Sam Howell for interceptions at 13.
Yeah.
Mac Jones ain't even getting practice reps at this point, 12. Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts, MVP. I'm not knocking Jalen right there. 10, 10, 10 for him, 10 for Tua, 10 for Jordan Love, 10 for Josh Dobbs. Mahomes, Stafford, Garoppolo, Geno sitting at 9. Geno got his 9th last night, obviously. Garoppolo has 9, and he only plays like 2 games a year. And then you got Goff and Desmond Ritter sitting at 8, right? Bryce Young as well. Dak is nowhere on this list right now. And right there, that's 1 through 5 ranking wise. There's a lot of ties right there, obviously, but now all of a sudden interceptions ain't a hot topic button, and I'm just trying to figure out what's what.
Yeah. Put some respect on my quarterback, man. Like the last 6 games, 20 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, man. What are we talking about? But I think it's a reason behind that. And I don't think Dak is like he's one of those guys that you see him now. He got a different look in his eyes, man. And I
Mm-hmm.
think all the talk all off season, and it's beautiful because like everything he's doing now, the haters is still hating. It's a good thing.
He can't win, bro.
It's a good thing though. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Like, would you want them to be like, oh yeah, Dak is finally here? Like, cool. Like, we know. If you've been watching him and you see how he's balling right now, we watching the game. Some people just they avoiding the stats. They just saying, well, you just beat Seattle. And he,
Mm-hmm.
but listen, like a lot of these teams are playing the same teams, but as y'all putting up the numbers he put, like we got to keep that into perspective. And it always been like this. Like when it came to Trayvon Diggs and he had 11 interceptions, it was a
Oh, he gave
yards,
up all the
it
yards.
was a yards thing. But now, yeah, if you look at the top yardage, I bet you see Slay and some of those guys up there. But hey, nobody talking about that no more because it was a thing to discredit what he was doing because the star on the helmet. That's another thing. That got a star on the helmet, and the same thing with Micah right now. Micah is impacting the game, right? If you watch that game and you look at the box score and you say he doesn't have any sacks, but then you see his defensive player of the year eyes drop, then you really didn't watch that game. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
see the plays that he made to really impact the game in the most crucial moments. But people just look at the stats and they'll find ways, and it's part of the game. It's part of the star on the helmet. And like I said, I kind of embrace it at this point. I enjoy it, and I think we good. Like, hey, we beat Seattle. That was a winning team, but are they really a winning team? They was trash, and they really wasn't winning. Cool. Let's keep this fire underneath of us. We really don't need to be in a position where we believe in any of what they're saying anyway. Long as we believe what we got going on, and you could tell the players are tight knit, and they're not believing the hype. They just kind of got that bond right now, and I'm loving it.
And another thing too, man, a quote from Dak after the game, right? People can say what they want, but I have the pen and the paper, so I'm doing the writing, right?
Yeah,
So he already took the ownership for it ahead of the season, saying he had some work on himself he had to do to clean up the turnovers, right? And also, I kind of want to hit this. I don't mean to drag it too far. In a game where Dak was sacked 4 times, right? Where we only had 1 sack, in a game with no punts and with all the penalties, man, it's really like we really had no business winning this football game if you
no,
really look into the numbers, right? But it really, I think, is a testament to Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy's connection as a player and a coach, as well as the chemistry that Dak is building with his receiving core, this offensive line standing behind him and doing their thing.
yeah,
Got to tidy up on the discipline, but all in all, I think this was a very important victory with the adversity that came along with it. I think moving on to Philly, we get the 10-day rest. I think Philly probably gets an L this weekend. I'm calling the San Fran dub.
hmm
I think San Fran is favored for a reason this weekend. I think Philly is exhausted. They're a little beat up. And I'm not saying that they're looking ahead to us, but there's a chance right now moving forward where Philly can drop 2 straight, right?
we coming,
Which
we coming.
I think is going to move San Fran to the 1 seed, us to the 2 seed, Philly to the 5 seed. If it all plays out the way I think it will in my head.
Nah, the only thing is we cannot finish with a lower well, I could say a tie record. Like even though we 2.5 games back or 1.5 at this moment, like we right there, we still tied with them. We done messed up in the fact that we done lost that NFC like that, them tiebreakers. Like we
Uh,
done lost to obviously San Fran. We done lost to
Arizona.
Arizona, Philly, they done lost to the Jets, which is outside of the division. So even though like if they lose to us and they lose to San Fran, it evens it out, but we still need that one more loss to kind of get us there. So whether like a team like the Giants or some the Vito, I don't know. Like a team can sneak in there, we're gonna need that one extra win to go up on them. And but it's the NFL, anything happens, we still in this fight. And like yeah, I put it like this: even if they was to get the 1 seed and that's where we gotta go, hey, look, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think San Fran, I can't wait to sit back and see that. But Philly, y'all come to Dallas, we coming. If y'all looking at this, use this as an example to overlook us and think y'all gonna come out here and do the same thing to our defense or whatever y'all think it's gonna be. But best believe it's gonna be a dogfight. I can't wait to look forward to it next week. And we'll be back, man. You got any final words for this one?
No, man, it's the end zone experience. If you like what you hear, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. We'll be at it here in about a week or so with the preview for that Philly game. And of course, a recap to follow that victory. So hit that like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you all for tuning in.